Hello, and welcome to another lesson from Level Up Mathematics. In today's lesson, we will explore how to write the equation for a parabola in vertex form. Now, when you're writing an equation for a parabola in vertex form, the first thing you want to do is identify the vertex and label it as H and K. Then you're going to identify another point on the parabola and label it as X, Y. After that, you will substitute the values of h, k, x, and y into the vertex form of an equation, which is y equals, this should say a times x minus h quantity squared plus k, and solve for a. And then finally, you'll write the final equation by substituting in the values of a, h, and k. All right, let's look at an example of these steps in action. So here we have a parabola. It says each function shown below represents a quadratic equation represented by either a table or a graph. Write an equation in vertex form to describe each function. So in this parabola, if we identify the vertex 1, 2, 3, we can see that it is 3, 1. Now, our steps above told us to label the vertex as h, k. So our h value here is 3, our k value is 1. All right. Now, the next thing we want to identify is any point we want off of this graph. All right. It doesn't matter which one we use, so I will choose this one right here on the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to identify the point 6, 4. And our steps above told us to label this point x, y. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to substitute in the vertex form. So I'm going to have you write the vertex form down. The vertex form of a parabola is y equals a times x minus h quantity squared plus k. Now we're going to be able to substitute in something for everything but a. All right, so for the y, you look up at your point and you see that we labeled a y was the value of 4. We do not know a. All right, now you look up at your labeled points and you can see that x was 6 minus h, which we said was 3 squared, plus k, which we said was positive 1. So we substituted in everything, and now we know everything but a. So now what we're going to do is solve this equation for a. So 4 is equal to, now do the parentheses first. 6 minus 3 is 3. 3 squared is 9, so this would be 9a plus 1. All right, now we're going to get the a by itself. So subtract 1 from both sides. So 3 is equal to 9a. And then divide both sides by 9. So 3 divided by 9 would be 1/3. So now we know the value of a. So if I want to write this equation for this parabola, I will say f of x equals 1/3 times x minus h, which is 3 squared, plus k, which is positive 1. There's your equation for your parabola. All right, in our next problem, we're given a table of values. So the first thing we need to do here is identify our vertex. So to find the vertex for a table of values, you're going to look at your y values and find where they repeat. So we have -11, -5, -3, and then it goes back to -5. So our turnaround point, or our vertex, is right here. So this will be 1, -3, and I'll label that h and k. Remember, your vertex is always hk. All right. Now, for your point, you can choose any point you want out of the table. It does not matter. I usually try to pick a kind of friendly point, so I'm going to use 0, -5. and I'll label that with X and Y. Again, it doesn't matter which point you pick, you'll still get the same answer. All right, so now let's write down our vertex form of the equation, which is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So for the y, you'll look up at your vertex and your point. The y value was -5. We do not know a. Now look up at your vertex and your point. The x value was 0. Our h value was 1 squared. And then our k value is -3. So this is -3. All right, we've got everything substituted in. Now we just need to solve it for the value of a. So -5 equals, do your parenthesis first, 0 minus 1 is -1. And -1 squared is -1 times -1, which is just positive 1a minus 3. All right, add 3 to both sides. So -2 is equal to a. So now we know the value of a, and we can write our function rule. F of x equals -2 is our a value, and then x minus h, which is 1 squared, plus k, which is -3. All right, example 2. Write a quadratic equation in vertex form for the parabola described. So in problem A, it says function g has a vertex of -1, 46. So that's our h and our k. It also passes through the point 3, 10. So that's our x and our y. All right, so we'll write down our formula that we're going to use. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So for the y, we'll plug in a 10. We don't know the a. For the x, we will plug in a 3 minus h, which is -1 squared, plus k, which is plus 46. All right, so 10 equals a times, whoops, excuse me, I don't want to write that down yet. Let's do the parentheses first. So if I do the parentheses first, 3 minus a -1 is the same thing as 3 plus 1, which is 4. And 4 squared is 16. So this is 16a plus 46. All right, subtract 46 from both sides. So -36 equals 16a. Divide both sides by 16. So a equals -36 divided by 16. Now I can reduce that. Let's see, they would both divide by 2. No, they'd both divide by 4. So a would equal -9 over 4. So there's our a value. So g of x will equal to -9 over 4, parenthesis, x plus 1, parenthesis squared, plus 46. All right, pause the video and try problem B on your own. All right, welcome back. Let's see how you did. All right, I labeled this h and this k, this x and this y to start. Then I wrote down my formula that I'd be substituting everything into. Y equals a times x minus h quantity squared plus k. For y, I plugged in a -10. We do not know a. For x, I plugged in 1 minus. For h, I plugged in -3. And for k, -7. Now I'm going to simplify this a bit. 1 minus -3 is the same thing as 1 plus 3, which is 4. And 4 squared is 16. So this is 16a minus 7. Now add 7 to both sides. So that would give me -10 plus 7 would be -3 equals 16a. And then divide. So a equals -3 over 16. So our final answer here is f of x equals negative 3 over 16 times x plus 3 squared minus 7. Now, one of the things that it's going to be very important for you to be able to do when you're working with vertex form is how to be able to convert it back to standard form. So in example 3, it asks us to convert each of the following from vertex form to standard form. Now let's review. Standard form is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So you're basically going to have to remove all the parentheses and combine like terms. So when you do this, remember your order of operations. You want to square or do the power, the exponents go first. So if I square this, I have f of x equals 3 times the quantity, x minus 4 squared minus 9. I want to square that binomial first. So f of x would equal to 3 times something minus 9. So in that parenthesis, I'm going to square the binomial x minus 4 squared. So that would be x squared minus 8x plus 16. Now, I know I'm assuming in this video that you already understand how to square binomials. If you do not remember how to square binomials, you probably need to go back and review that first, because I will not be reteaching that in this lesson. All right. Now, we want to distribute our 3. So f of x equals 3x squared minus 24x plus 48 minus 9. Now combining like terms, we get f of x equals 3x squared minus 24x plus 39. 48 minus 9. Yeah, 48 minus 10 be 38. So 30. Now we've converted 3 times the quantity of x minus 4 squared minus 9, which was in vertex form. We've converted it into standard form so that there's no parentheses or like terms left to be combined. All right, let's try that again. Here we have in B, f of x equals negative 2 times the quantity, x minus 3 squared plus 2. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to put a negative 2, a big parenthesis, and then a plus 2. And I want to square this binomial, x minus 3 quantity squared. So that's x squared minus 6x plus 9. Now we'll distribute. So that would be negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 18 plus 2. And then combine like terms. So f of x equals negative 2x squared plus 12x minus 16. All right, pause the video and try problem C on your own. All right, welcome back. Let's see how you did. So I wrote down a 4, a big parenthesis, and then a plus 3. This was x squared plus 10x plus 25. And that gives me f of x equals 4x squared plus 40x plus 100 plus 3. So when I combine like terms, 4x squared plus 40x plus 103. Now, let me show you when you would need to use this process. So, in example 4, it says write an equation for each of the following in standard form, y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. To do that, you're going to have to write it in vertex form first and then convert it. So, to write our equation in vertex form, we'll need to identify our vertex, 1, which is 1, 3, and then any point on the graph. Now, I like to keep the points as easy as possible, so I'm just going to use this y-intercept right here, which is 0, 1. I'm trying to avoid negatives if I can, all right? Now, let's label these. This is our hk, and this is our xy, all right? So we know our final answer, or let's go back. Let's write down the formula for the vertex form first. Okay, y equals a times x minus h quantity squared plus k. So for the y, we'll plug in a 1. For the a, we do not know it. For the x, we'll plug in a 0. For the h, we'll plug in a 1. And for the k, we'll plug in a 3. So 1 equals, so 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is just positive 1a plus 3. Subtract 3 from both sides. So now we know the value of a is 2. So our vertex form is f of x equals negative 2, parenthesis, x minus h, which is 1, plus k, which is 3. Now that's our vertex form. We now have to convert that to standard form. So to do that, we'll take negative 2, big parenthesis, whoops, I did not want to put that square, and then plus 3. And we need to square this x minus 1 squared. So that would be x squared minus 2x plus 1. Distribute, so negative 2x squared positive 4x minus 2 plus 3. And combine like terms. So the equation for this parabola in standard form would be negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 1. All right, let's try one more of these. So begin by identifying your vertex. Negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 2, negative 6. And we need 1 point on the graph. Oh gosh, let's see. I'm not seeing any really good points except maybe right there and right there. So I'll just use the one right here on the right. And that would be negative 1, negative 2. I try to avoid using negatives if I can, but in this case, it was impossible. So let's label these. Here's our h, here's our k, here's our x, here's our y. All right, so we'll start by plugging it into our formula. A equals x minus h quantity squared plus k. For the y, plug in a negative 2. We don't know a. For x, I'll plug in negative 1 minus h, which is negative 2 squared, plus k, which is minus 6. All right, simplify that. We have negative 2 equals a. Whoops, I didn't want to write down my a yet. Excuse me. Negative 1 minus negative 2 is the same thing as negative 1 plus 2, which is 1 squared, which is 1a minus 6. Add 6 to both sides. So negative 2 plus 6 is 4. Now we know that 4 is equal to a. So our vertex form of this parabola is y equals 4, parenthesis, x minus h. Well, x minus negative 2 is the same thing as x plus 2 squared, and then plus k, which is minus 6. Now that's your vertex form. The question, however, asks you to write the equation for this parabola in standard form. So we just need to get rid of our parentheses and combine like terms. So I'll put a big parenthesis here. Square the x plus 2 to get x squared plus 4x plus 4. Now distribute to get 4x squared plus 16x plus 16 minus 6. And then combine like terms. So y equals 4x squared plus 16x. 16 minus 6 is positive 10. And now you have the equation for the parabola written in standard form. And that concludes today's lesson, writing equations of parabolas in vertex form.